You're listening to Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures with Kristin and Polly, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hey, good morning.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you? Welcome. Welcome to Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures. I'm Kristin. This is Polly.
Okay, let's talk about something fun. But first, what's a high vibrational moment in the past week? Like what's happened in the past week that just was like divine?
Well, so full disclosure, I just got back from Hawaii. So pretty much the entire week was divine. It was, there was one, so I have the 3 children, and my parents flew down from Washington State to watch the kids. And whenever you have 3 kids and you leave the house, there's always shenanigans. And I just kept checking in.
Even if you don't leave the house, there's shenanigans.
You know what?
Right?
Well said. Yes. And it adds that extra bit of excitement when you do attempt to leave the house. So I was checking in probably way too much. And my mom finally said, I got this. Your job is to enjoy your vacation. We've got it here. It's fine. And then she would text me. Her and my dad would send me messages about how good the dog was and how the kids are eating and enjoying and the laundry's done. Like everything.
Oh my God.
And it was so nice. And of course, I knew everyone was going to be fine. Like, you know, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Just those little tidbits of follow-up that brought me peace. And so it was very easy to relax into vacation mode. Because sometimes it takes me a while to go from crazy life into vacation mode, you know?
That's awesome. Love it. Love it.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that occasionally we had some babysitters that the people didn't like, but the people meaning the children.
Yes. Yeah. And that never goes well.
No.
I won't get into details, but once upon a time, we had a sitter quit because the 3 amigos decided we don't like her. And they were naughty.
Hold on. Were you out of state when it happened?
No, we were, it was just a babysitter that was picking them up from school, and they didn't like her. Like, they didn't like her car. They didn't like her. They didn't like the way she spoke. They didn't enjoy her energy. I don't think it was a good fit in the end. So instead of us asking her to leave, she was like, yeah, I'm done. These kids.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So
good,
that was
good conclusion.
Yes. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. A high vibrational thing for me. It's lovely right now. That's I mean, looking at the blue sky and the tree, it's lovely. But I'll tell you this, if I can, just because it's fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
And as I was saying in the studio right before this, I love finding like people in your life that like help you become a better version of yourself, or help you like connect to that little spark of joy, right? That they do something, they're by your side while you connect to that spark of joy. And I'll tell you who it is. Again, I think it might have been the same thing as last time. It's my personal trainer. He's so much fun because I came from that to this. And oh my God, it's so much fun. Like, he's just fun. He's like this young guy, great energy, and you know, puts up with my antics, but definitely it brings me joy. Oh my God. Like, if I could share that.
That is a true gift, because he can take, and this is when people just, I love when they have found their calling.
Yes.
Like, you can train, you can take whatever course you need to, whatever certification, but you can't be taught how to interact with people and your vibe. Yes. Like, he's got it.
He has it. And because I had another one briefly. Did I meet with her twice? Maybe just once. And I was like, At first I told myself, get over myself.
As one does. Yes. Yeah.
But in the second go around, I'm like, no, this is not quite it. And I just took this random class and this guy was teaching, and I was like, yeah, this is it. He's so much fun. So anyhow, that's my high vibration. So much fun, because we can talk about spirituality while I work out.
Yes.
And what else can you ask for? What else?
You're living your best life.
Truly, yes. Okay, so here's what I was thinking, because again, it's time for me to write. And so I'm like, here are the things that I want to, that I'm like, the things I'm tossing around in my head.
Okay.
High vibrations, like what are high vibrations? That was topic A. B, reality shift, right? A reality, people talk about reality shifting all the time. C, expansion, right? Having those expanded moments. Like what is it? What does that entail? So what is your choice? And whatever your choice is what I'm writing about this week. So
The pressure's getting to me. I love expansion. I love that. But it kind of that I mean, they all kind of go together in a
they
way,
do.
don't you think?
They
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100.
Yeah.
100. Yes.
I love
Pressure's on, Kristin.
Should we expand?
Is that your choice?
I think it is.
Okay, and you're right. They all do tie together. So what's your idea of expansion? Hold on. I gotta get notes. I'm actually gonna take notes.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah, I am, because ask me if I have one single word written down for my blog.
You know what? I don't even need to ask. My intuition is on, and I believe I know the answer to that.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna take notes. Give me your insight, friend. What is expansion to you?
When I think about expansion, I feel like we got to know where we're at now so we know where we're expanding from.
Oh.
So I think you have to do almost like not dwell on it, but definitely do a reality check. Like, where am I?
Reality.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Do I like where I am? What do I love?
Oh yeah.
Like, what things do I absolutely love, and acknowledge that and feel the gratitude for it. But then notice the things that you're like, I don't enjoy where I'm at. I've outgrown it. I'm grateful for where I'm at, but I'm going to go bigger. I need to drop some limiting beliefs and expand into another realm. And then just kind of focus on that. Like with our the new moon and the solar eclipse last week on the 14th, I focused on some expansion in a lot of areas in my life. Wrote it down, revisiting every morning. Yeah.
And you know what it reminds me of, like what they're showing me right now is, like, if you have, say you have something that's not very healthy, and like say an orange, and it's not a very healthy orange, and it has like all this fibrous tissue inside. And if you try to expand it, like say you're just pulling it apart, right? That is not expansion, because the expansion has to be in all the spaces. There has to be an expansion throughout the entire being. Like if that makes sense. Like if you just like pull it from the outside out and try to expand, it falls apart. Like it becomes no more. It implodes, if you will. But if you do it in a way where there is expansion in each cell, in each little bit, then you have the ability to pull for the expansion, for you to expand. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's more like an inside job, and it's a totality kind of situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
I like that. And I love that orange analogy.
Yeah, because they're showing me like this squishy thing, like with fibers. So I guess it kind of reminded me of an orange. And like if you try to pull it apart, it's like all the goo comes out, the juice and the goo.
Yes.
Doesn't work. So you totally have to be like in an expansion between each cell. And that's why, like, you know, when I do those meditations, I frequently talk about the space between.
Yeah.
Because you need that space between.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then I will even say this. I believe with expansion, like, well, in spirituality, wellness, whatever we want, blah, 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 whatever we want to say. I'm sorry. Let me get back into my zone. I believe that we don't have to be able to label the expansion. Like we can simply say that we want to expand into a better version of self, or expand into or with higher vibrations, expanding with higher vibrations, right? So we don't necessarily have the idea of what this expansion is going to be and feel like, because I do think that ultimately, for us to have true expansion, we are going into a place we've never been before.
Okay, I agree 100%. I feel like there's a certain amount of trust when you ask for expansion, and I find that it comes better than I could have ever imagined if I just trust, and I'm almost
Yeah.
not specific. Like
Yeah.
I'm vaguely specific. Like I give enough of a request, but I also keep it open on how I receive it, on
Yeah.
what modality it comes in, which is hard because when you think you know everything and you want it a certain way,
Yes.
to pull back and just trust. But if it's not anything that you've ever experienced before, then and you're looking for something better, you have to trust that it's going to
Yes.
come,
Oh
which
my
is hard.
God. Oh, that
What do you see?
the damn hawk. It comes in and goes after. Is this the first time it's happened during the show?
I
No.
feel like no,
It comes in and attacks. It chases my birds. I don't think I got one today.
oh my gosh.
It's this big falcon that comes in.
What's the wingspan? 6 feet?
I don't know. It's big. There's a big one and a smaller one. I'm sure
It's like
that's a sign.
you're
It's
like Snow White.
crazy.
You know what? I'm going to research what this hawk situation means. It's got to be
I almost took a picture the other day because I've got that one tree that's like 10, well, it's actually parts of it 2 feet from my window. But it was like 10, the hawk was like 10 feet from my window, and it just sits in that tree. So I know, it's so, I mean, this is like its lunch.
oh my
It
gosh.
knows when, I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Anyhow, sorry for that break, but similar to expansion, you don't know what to expect,
You
right?
really
Like
don't.
there's going to be some things that come in and kind of shatter the moment, if you will,
Mhm.
shatter the barriers, shatter the constrictions, shatter the, oh, it didn't get, oh, I hope it didn't get one, but I see it. Anyhow, shatter things up, and it allows for some new sunlight to come in. It allows for this new concept to come in.
Yes, and you have to just make some space for it.
Yeah.
I love that term, and I feel like I use it a lot. I hear it a lot, but that phrase, to shed your limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
I love that because we don't even know that we have them until, I think about like as a mom and how you're raising your kids, and it's just our job. It's what we do. We put the limiting beliefs on them and we give them
Yeah.
constrictions and we just raise them to the best of our ability. But inevitably, they have some limiting beliefs because of their environment.
Yeah.
And then once they recognize that, which is pretty easy to do once they get out there socially and start meeting other people with different thoughts, then the idea becomes, oh, I can expand into something else besides this little ball that I've been raised in.
I can
And
try something else.
yes, let's do it. Grow.
Okay, so let's switch that a little bit. So yeah, but, well, okay, two things. So, it's one of those things like it totally depends on your frame of mind, because you can talk to some people about limiting beliefs, or I don't know, we'll say limiting beliefs, and they will take offense to it because they're like, I'm not going to change, or none of my beliefs are wrong, right? And so it really depends on it. Like people have to be able to receive the idea that there's room for expansion.
Yes. And I feel like it's safer to say room for expansion than anything else because that makes people feel like there's nothing wrong with you. You're not
Yeah,
limited. Like
yeah,
just think of the opportunity. So it becomes like more of a pragmatic thing where you have to word it just right for people
yeah.
to.
And because also, I mean, two things can happen there. Number one, some people are like, screw you. I don't have any limiting beliefs. That's one thing. Number two, they can flip it and they can be like, oh my God, look at the, I was raised by hellions and look at where I'm at. I've got to climb out of this thing. And it's hard for them to see how beautiful some of their beliefs are, right? And so there's two
Yes.
things. And so I think it's really, you have to be on that wavelength of like what you said, appreciating what you have and where you are, but then also be aware that there's always room for expansion.
Yes. Yes. There's all with trust. So you have to understand like how is it coming in, and don't close off any doors that the opportunity and the expansion might be seeping into your world, which is hard.
And here's the thing, this is where intuition comes in, right? Because you totally have to start trusting your gut, like what feels good, like what people feel good, what situations feel good. Like you have to really start paying attention to how you feel and honor that. Like respect yourself enough so that if you don't feel good in a situation, you leave.
Yes. And that's from a parenting standpoint. I feel like now the vibe is a little bit different, but I think it was done wrong, where as parents, well-meaning parents, we would pull back and not empower a child to feel their intuition. Like, oh, you'll be fine, and it's
Yeah.
okay. And, go give Uncle Crazy Pants a hug, and, whatever. And just like tell them what to do, even though it might not feel right, just force it on them because it was socially appropriate, or it was what the parent needed in the moment.
Yeah.
So if that was an upbringing, then trusting your intuition would be hard to do if you were never allowed to feel it. So
Yes.
sometimes as a young adult, seeing people like finally realize, oh my gosh, that's intuition, that's a good thing. I love when they're able to embrace it finally and start to trust it.
Yeah. And how hard for the people that really are intuitives and really feel everything to be told, to literally be told you're wrong, go give Uncle Crazy Pants a hug. But right? Like how hard is that? Because intuitively, like your body's screaming, this is not a good thing. And your parents are like, this is a good thing.
Yes.
I mean, how hard and confusing. Holy criminy.
Yes. Like that is a mixed message for sure.
Yeah. And so, and I'm sure that I've said this in the past, but I do believe that that's how anxiety can start, right? Because you're picking up so much stuff, and then you have other people in the world telling you this, and it's like, who the hell do you trust? Do you trust yourself? Do you trust the world? And it's like, oh my God, there's so much coming at me.
Yes.
That's a
And you're
lot.
getting questionable, and just making that like self-fulfilling prophecy, like, oh my gosh, I'm wrong. I've got to do it even though it doesn't feel right. And that can lead to
Okay, so back to expansion. I love the idea of thinking, and you're in the physical world. I mean, you are in the physical world.
I am.
It is, but you also work with people at the physical body and such.
Yeah.
So when you work with them, do you imagine that you're creating, because you talk about creating length, right? Do you think about like creating space between like bones, space between, like, do you think of that?
Always. In fact,
Yeah.
we talk about how the spine, and very simply, just in the spine, you wake up in the morning and you're on your feet all day, and just gravity compresses you and compact down. So fractioning out your back is key. And we talk about how we take the muscles in the back and we just try to be as long as we possibly can. And internally, the result is taking those bones, those discs in your back, and pulling them further apart. So the little synovial sacs and cartilage between get a chance to swell.
That's so good.
And become more of a cushion.
That's so good.
Talking about that really helps people lengthen out, which I feel like that's what we need to do. We need to create some space for all the goodness to come in.
Because it's not, and I really do. I always feel like that creating that space. Like when I do my meditations, I always imagine, like when I talk about space, I just imagine that there's like that space between our bones, space between our thoughts, space between form, space between you and I, right? Like there's just that beautiful space, that potential for creation. So there's just like creating that space is potential for expansion, creation, for miracles. I love it.
When you do
Okay.
your meditation and you think about the space, do you kind of keep it open and ready to receive,
Well,
or do you fill it with anything?
okay, let me take a little tiny step back. When I do my meditations, when I do the guided meditations in class and stuff, and I
Yeah.
talk about space in there, I actually don't do the space necessarily in my own meditation, but
Okay.
in class sometimes I do talk about creating that space because I feel it. And anyhow, the space thing is very important.
Okay. Noted.
I needed more calories today. There's a little calorie deficit. I grabbed a banana right before our little thing. Okay, but let's talk about reality shifting,
Okay.
because as we begin expansion in our worldview, right? Like if our worldview becomes expanded, all of a sudden things that we did not see, we become aware of, correct?
Yes.
And in the same sense as our, for example, like right now I look out and I can see the center of the tree, I'm looking at it. But if my world expands and I'm able to see the outline of the tree with the blue sky, all of a sudden I have more colors, I have more depth, I have all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's at that point that you have a reality shift, right?
It is completely being open to the expansion and seeing something new. Yes.
Yeah.
I never thought about it like that. Hang on, let me take a note. Reality shift. And then you have to be present enough to be aware that it shifted. Like it's going to shift regardless, but whether or not you notice is a big player.
Yes. So, okay, so we have that reality shift we're looking up, but the key is to, like, how much do you want to remember of, like, what brought you to that expanded view? How much do you, or like, how much do you want to remember of the center of the tree? How much do you want to remember of those other times in your life? How important is it to you? Or can you let it go and just safely be in this new reality?
Ooh, I love that concept question. Like, can you? Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think everyone, depending on the day and depending on what you're feeling, it's going to be different. Like you're never going to feel every single day the exact same with your surrender into this expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Because look at, even when you were in Hawaii, that was a reality,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And then coming back last night, landing in LAX, there was a reality shift.
There certainly was. It was, yes. And then it's up to me on how much do I want to focus on my
Yeah.
new reality of the hectic airport, or how much do I want to still contemplate on the zen of laying on the beach.
Yeah.
So it's that idea of, well, you hit what you aim for. Like, where are you going to let your thoughts lie? Like, what are you focused on? Where are you putting your energy?
Yeah.
You have to acknowledge where you are. I mean, I had to be like, yes, I'm,
You had to function in the airport.
yes, but I didn't have to let it get to me. Did I let it get to me? Maybe. I don't know. I can hardly remember.
Okay. But I think that that's a really important thing, because what we're talking about is real life, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about real life. Kids, airports, travel, feeling great, then, dealing with perhaps lost baggage, whatever. Right? So it's like real life. And so how do we balance that? And for me, like, if I think of, so you can think of acute situations or chronic situations, and if I think of, like, in my heart of hearts, I believe, like, okay, a reality shift or an expanded view can be a miracle. It can happen like that.
Mm-hmm.
All else falls away. We have this amazing, everything is different. Or it could be like this very slow but steady change of you kind of like just taking this path where you continually choose the higher vibration things,
Mm-hmm.
and the lower vibrations fall away. So you continually choose to um, look at what something is bringing into your life. You continually choose to not necessarily react in a combative way, right?
Yes.
So you continually to make those higher vibration choices, and your reality continues to shift and it continues to open up. You continue on this expanded path, if that makes sense. So
It
to me,
totally
it's
does.
a very slow, I mean, I'd say for all of us, right? Because I don't care if you're, you know, almost next to Jesus, you still have room for growth,
Yes.
right?
It's consistency. I think
It is.
that's it. It's being very well, with all things that we work on in every
Yeah.
area, improvement happens with consistency. But consistently saying as part of your meditation, like I release all low vibrational experiences that no longer serve me. I invite in the highest of vibration I can possibly handle. Like these things continually said and felt. I think that's what gives you the expansion. That's what raises your vibration. But again, there's a certain amount of trust. Like you don't know. You don't always know what is vibrating low in my experience
Mhm.
that no longer serves me. I can guess a couple of things, but you don't know all of it.
You don't, and we're human.
There is
There is that. At
there is
least I think I'm
quality.
human. Perhaps, friend, I'm not. But so there are going to be days that are. There's going to be days and things that are a challenge, and so not everything is going to go as we want. Not everything is going to be like, you know, what is that? Rainbow Kitten Surprise, that band. I think
Yes.
Rainbow Kitten
Yes.
Surprise. Not everything is going to be like that.
Right.
But if the bulk of it, if you can hold on to that faith or that hope in the bulk of it,
Hmm.
you'll get there. I mean, I swear, I mean, I just look at like my life, like literally dropping out of high school when I was 15.
Yes.
And
This is
some,
just
well, it's crazy. It's literally crazy.
it is.
I will omit some of these, some of it. I
Fair
did get a
enough.
college education. But that's the piece is like you literally, like whatever you're given, you literally have the opportunity to make these choices and continue to make choices to get you to a higher ground.
And you know what you shared with me once that you include in your meditation, and now I include it in mine. And I love this. It's so simple and so good. It's just, please let me be the best that I can be.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is so basic and
Yeah.
pure and
I
simple.
was very young. You know, okay, this is kind of crazy. I was so young because we didn't have that type of stuff in my house. Like I wasn't raised with that. Sitting on the ground next to a goat. That's what I would do. Is I would go out with the with the animals, and literally that's when the stuff would come to me. Is like just help me be the best that I can be.
I love that.
Like
That's so
it's so like a very very young kid, as you can tell because it's pretty basic. But
mhm.
that's all I could do. And then I did go away from that a little bit in my teenage years, but then I came back to
Teenagers, your teenage years are about growth and
it
experimentation.
about dropping out of high school.
That's a part of it. Yes. Um, I love that though. Like, how old do you think you were? 4, 5?
No, I think I was probably 8. I would say I was probably around 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a very simple request,
It is a very simple request
but
because that's,
a big one.
but I literally like that's what I felt because I didn't necessarily in my home, I didn't necessarily have that like there wasn't like I didn't feel like I had this anchor in my home, so to speak.
Hmm.
And so it just made it easier for me to believe that there's something greater
Yeah.
because I certainly wasn't raised that there was something greater, but it made it easier for me to believe that there's something greater. There's got to be something more than, and I love the animals. I love the dirt. I mean,
Mhm.
I still love the animals and love the dirt, but I don't know. It's so interesting to me.
It's like you innately knew. And I wonder about that. Like all beings, when we first come in, do we innately know? Like,
I do.
yeah. And then life just kind of beats it out of some people or reinforces it in others. And
I I think we do. I mean, I think look at I was raised on a farm, I had a ton of space, right?
Space.
I had a ton of space, and I
Mhm.
still need that space. I think that that's a part of it, is like being able to have that space, that quiet, that grounding where you can feel it. Like I literally was on the ground. Like I would, right? So I made that connection.
Yeah. I can remember being also on a farm as a little girl, laying in the grass and looking up and just seeing the clouds like slowly pass and just being so connected with everything and having
Yeah.
like really deep thoughts. And I worry about the generation coming up and how they don't have a moment of stillness to contemplate. There's so much stimulation
Yeah.
with their phones and everything going on. And maybe it's just that I'm in California and when I grew up, I was in Missouri, but just the stillness.
Yeah.
People aren't still enough. And there's no moment for contemplation or inspiration.
Well, I think it's important to introduce the idea at whatever age, whether it's a kid or an adult, to introduce the idea of distractions, right? Like what
Mhm.
is distracting you from this moment? Because I really do believe our challenges in our life are distractions.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
is distracting you from being your best? What is distracting you from this moment? And so if we can teach our kids really the idea of distractions.
Hmm.
Because say you're going hiking and it's beautiful, you have your favorite snack, whatever, you got your water, it's just like this amazing day, and yet you can't enjoy it because you're distracted about some phone call that you had yesterday.
That's so true. It's about controlling your thoughts then at that point. Like
Yeah.
that's really all
I
you
mean,
can
even
control.
driving, right? And
Hmm.
God knows I don't like to drive. But even driving, like say you well, I mean, in driving, the distractions on 2 points, right? Are you distracted so you're not a good driver? Or are you distracted instead of like thinking, okay, I can make the most of this, listen to music and think happy thoughts? Or am I going to be pissed because this guy just cut me off?
Totally. And can he cut you off and you let it go? Or are you going to marinate on that for the next 30 minutes and be
Yeah,
aggressive to every driver? Like how's this going to play
yeah,
out?
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
So distractions are a huge thing, and I think, and look at the more we can cut ties with those distractions, like be able to identify our distractions, the more we can release those, let those go. I think it's easier for us to have those expansive moments, because
Mhm.
expansive moments are literally just like being able to connect with what we have, being able to connect. I mean, okay, who would ever imagine this color of blue out in the sky,
Right?
right? Like,
Mhm.
who could imagine that?
Yeah. And
And yet we get it.
we do. And how this is an interesting, and we'll never know the answer to this, but
Wait, we might, you never know. And an
I was,
expanded,
that's true. We could expand and know. How, like, who's enjoying it? Who's even noticing the blue? Like,
oh
are
my
some
God,
people not?
such a good question.
Hmm.
Oh my God,
I
that
know.
is so good.
Obviously, you pointed it out, but is
That is
everyone? Because
crazy.
we're all under it, but who's looking up and enjoying it?
That is such a good question. But there's just so many, like, so many things that are incredible, right? And then some of them, like, I would never know because I'm not an engineer, and so I'm not going to look at a bridge and be like, oh my God, the engineering on this is incredible, whereas there's going to be somebody else who's, brilliant, and like, oh my God, the engineering on this is incredible. So there's so many different things that are available to us to appreciate. I guess that's
That's
important.
true. Yeah, we just need to notice, take
Yeah,
note.
like, and I guess that's the other thing, is like to recognize that we all are going to appreciate different things,
Hmm. Oh yeah.
right? Because we've done different things, and so some things are easy for us
Yes.
to
Yes.
notice.
Yeah. And everyone's different. We have our own individuality. We like different things as it should be.
But I guess that's the other thing, is like recognizing do recognize what brings you joy. Do recognize what you become curious about.
Yes.
Do recognize.
A little self-reflection never hurt anyone.
Yeah. And then that's a really good question. Like the things that we do all have in common, ideally, like healthy food, the blue sky, fresh drinking water, the things that ideally we all have in common, like how many of us pause and recognize it?
Exactly. Yeah. How many
So
times?
interesting.
It's distractions are huge. We should do an entire
Yeah, distraction. That is one of my number one things because people will go off on tangents about something not really what they're upset about. Oh
Yeah.
my God. There will be a distraction that they will grab hold of. The
Yes.
craziest things.
And it makes me wonder why. Like, is it just too painful to deal with what we're
I
really?
think so.
Yeah.
I think sometimes. Well, and yes, I think so. I mean, and there's going to be different things, but it's almost like, okay, before I can deal with this big issue, I have to go back because I was really hurt at this other thing that happened 10 years ago. I'm really hurt about that. And I don't know if I'm ready to look at that again. And so I'm going to talk about this distraction and throw a fit about that.
Exactly. It's easier for me.
It is, and why not? And listen, I am lazy. I do like the lazy. I do like easy. But this is what I was thinking. Okay, I was thinking this a while ago. You know why I like planks?
Why?
There's no distractions. You literally you are in that pose, whatever you want to call it. That's it.
Yeah.
There are no distractions.
You know what's interesting about this is when people are planking, I have found they go one of two ways. They go so focused. No, mentally, they go one of two ways. Physically, I don't know. Mentally, they go one of two ways. They get so focused on everything they're doing that it is perfection, or they don't like the way it feels and they try to go somewhere else. And their mind is thinking of all the other things. So they're not like present in the experience of what they're doing. And it's, which is one of the reasons I love Pilates because you can't like try to go somewhere else. You have to be in the moment.
Oh, see, you don't like the distractions either.
I don't. I want to feel everything in my body. And you move a little bit safer and your form's a little bit better if you're there.
Yeah. Okay, what do you think if you do Pilates with your eyes closed?
I think that the bulk of the movements should be done with your eyes open. But if it helps somebody to really get into a certain position or feel a certain muscle to close their eyes and block out the distractions, that is acceptable initially to get you there. But the goal long term would be I had an instructor once say Pilates is an eyes open, mouth closed type of exercise.
Oh my God.
I might have been talking too much. I don't know.
That sounds a little harsh. That sounds like she taught traditional Pilates.
Oh, she's very classical. Yes. Very.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one time I was hosting her at my studio. And so I gave her this raging introduction. She's fantastic. We all lie down to begin the class. And she doesn't even remember my name. She calls me Garage because the studio's Garage Pilates. And she said, Garage, go spit out your gum.
Oh my God, that's so
Go
funny.
spit my gum out. That was the last time she came to the studio.
Oh my God, you know what that reminds me of? And then we will get back on topic. You remember at the retreat when somebody thought they didn't know who I was?
Yes.
When it was like a guest, somebody coming to work to lead a program.
Yeah.
And they didn't know who I was. They thought, I can't remember who they thought was. I think they were just going around and like who might, anyhow, it was kind of funny.
Yep. Oh, that was funny. That was very funny. That brought me joy.
It did bring me joy. Brought me joy. Okay. I was still a little worried though, I gotta tell you. But it turned out okay.
It was a fantastic retreat.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried about that piece of it though. But everybody loved it.
Oh, it was a huge hit.
Yeah, and that's all that matters.
Mhm.
Okay, so reality shift. Back to reality shift and expansion. So I did read like two little blurbs yesterday about reality shift, and there are people who enjoy the process. Oh, we got to do cards in just a minute, but they enjoy the process of shifting their reality, um, and I'm not really sure what it is, but I think really trying to go out into a completely different reality, like they're no longer present in earth, I think is what it means, like
Mhm.
they go elsewhere, so they're not so much in their body,
Yeah.
and then they have like a safe word to bring them back.
Interesting.
But yeah, so I have to read a little bit more on that. But
Yeah.
here's the thing, we shift our realities all the time, like
Yes.
in acute situations, and then we have that long slow reality shift, but we do, like, I mean, my reality shifted a little bit when that hawk came to try to eat my birds.
That's true. It did. Yes. And little things shifted all the time, like you said. Like it's multiple times during the day, your
Yes.
reality shifting. And I find it interesting to see how people react to these things, like a human case study. Like some people just roll with the punches, and some
Yeah.
people kick it up a notch. And you can
But
see,
maybe that's the piece, is like we have to think about, okay, we all have a baseline of reality. We have a baseline,
Mhm.
but from within that baseline, we have that steady state, so to speak. From that steady state of reality, we have these little ups and downs, correct? But we have that baseline. But
Mhm.
that's the interesting thing. Some people's baseline is up here, some people's baseline is down here.
Mhm. Yep.
So that's the question.
Yeah.
This week, anybody listening, everybody listening, where's your baseline?
Yep. And
Like,
you tend to know your baseline when you meet other people and you see where their baselines are. And you're
yeah,
like, oh, I aspire to handle ups and downs as she does. Or
yeah,
wow, look at me handling life way better than her.
yeah.
It could go
It's
either way.
so good. Like, I mean, I think, oh my God, surround yourself with people that are so much smarter and wiser than you,
Yes.
right? I mean, at least have a handful of them, because, oh my God, it helps you. It
It
helps
only
you
helps you. Yes.
see the world differently. And
Mhm.
thank God there's always somebody brighter and wiser than you, right? Because
Yes.
that's the way the world is. And so find that person that can kind of elevate your baseline.
Oh, absolutely. What is that phrase? Like there's you are the culmination of the five people closest to you.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like
So
it.
if you kind of like gauge the five people you spend the most time with,
Yeah.
act with the most, you will
So
have
interesting. Okay, and here's the thing. Pay attention. Are there some that need to have a different title in your life?
yes,
Right? If they need to
indeed.
have a different, not celebrity status, but a different, like a
Yes.
different status.
Attention as they're getting, or do they need
Yeah.
more
I
love?
mean, literally this one person, and then we'll draw our cards. She is going through a tough time, and she knew she needed to ditch this guy a while ago. Well, now she really is ditching the guy. And she needs to just like focus on herself for a year and just elevate herself, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. She had like, then she contacted me the next day because she had like this person who was like drinking and taking it. And I'm like, oh my, okay, then this is truly it. It's like, you have to get rid of all those people in your life. It's obviously proven it's not a fit for you. Focus on yourself, take care of yourself for a year, you and your children for a year.
Yes. Yes.
And so she was given the, I mean, thank God, given the opportunity to just make a clean slate.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Like, yeah, just thank God. Throw them all in the washer, walk away.
Totally. Like, and there's a certain amount of like healing yourself before you start to.
Yes, that's what I said. Do not help anybody until, right? Give it a year. You focus on yourself. You don't have energy for anybody but yourself and your babies.
Right. I watched a movie on the plane yesterday that I would have never selected, but we had just a few to choose from. It was called 28 Days with Sandra Bullock. Have you heard of it?
Maybe. I don't know.
She
Wait, is
was
she crazy? Was she drinking?
yes.
Yeah, I
And
started, didn't finish it.
she had to go. She got a DUI. She left her sister's wedding and wrecked the limo that she stole.
I couldn't do it because I
Yeah.
couldn't do the crazy.
The best was when in rehab, the guy leading it said to them, because one person was like, "Oh, when can we start dating?" In our healing process. And he said, "When you leave here, get a plant. If after a year the plant is still alive, get a pet. If after 2 years the pet and the plant are still alive, then consider dating." And I was like, wow.
I like that.
Okay.
Okay, I gotta start again. I do like these cards, but they're not in. For this week, the vibration, the energy for this week, the message for this week. I do like that. I've got to pick another card.
Okay, you did. Oh, okay. I'll this is what I got. Isn't she pretty?
Oh, hold on. Yeah, I like that. I got that yesterday. I like that. That's nice.
Okay. Queen of Angels, visionary. I love that. For me, it means like imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Like really tune in, notice where your mind tends to go, and take your imagination and let your imagination help you break free from any limiting beliefs and expand your reality. So start to just imagine things. Let your mind just kind of
Yeah, I do. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful.
And then maybe there'll come in some mental clarity, but just like start to imagine. Use your imagination to help you manifest, to help you release anything that's no longer mentally, and to help you expand. Imagine.
Love that. 5 of Angels, withdraw. But so you might look at that and be like, oh, she's withdrawing. She looks a little sad. But I don't believe it's that. I believe it's kind of similar to what we were talking about, taking care of yourself. I believe that it's like, I think it's really important this week and I see this week as fun, but to really pay attention to what nurtures you, what helps you feel grounded, what helps you feel, it connects you with the joy. It's like, this week is really good for intention, which is interesting because you've got the imagination, but I like intention. Like, I really like people to be aware of their surroundings. I like people to be aware of how they're connecting to earth. I like people to be aware of how they feel in prayer, how they feel in meditation, be aware of the people around them, because it's really, it's like, to be truly that aware of what's going on, you do have to withdraw a bit because you have to be inside. That has to be the starting point, which is kind of like what you said in the very beginning. Have your starting point of where you are before you expand.
Yes.
And so really get centered and just imagine that you have what you do, have these little feelers. And if they're going out and they connect with something that doesn't feel so good, don't engage. The message of this week, don't engage if there's BS. Didn't swear that.
Yes, I love that.
Did not swear, friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, very good. Okay, so to ask questions, to call, you're always welcome to call or send us in an email or a text.
Yes.
To find out more about me, I am PollyWirum.com. I'm so excited. I'm gonna, by January, I will have my website will change and my business will change. I'm so excited. Excited.
That'll be awesome. Yes.
I'm so excited.
I can't wait to see what you're offering next. I'm here for it.
So excited.
I'm Kristin, garagepilates.net. Follow us on Instagram for all the information, truth.wellness.psychic. You'll notice our new link tree with all our offerings on all the details.
And that's Kristin that's doing that. You know what? I'm staying. So in Gallup, New Mexico, we have 1 minute. There's a haunted place that we could stay. I haven't made reservations. And in Santa Fe, we're staying because I could not get, it wasn't per choice. I'm staying at a old an old hotel also. So it should be fun.
Oh my gosh. I love
I
that for you. Will
I
you
know.
be there around Halloween?
We're going to be in Sedona on Halloween.
Okay, very good.
Sedona's fun in Halloween.
We're good. All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us this week.
Yes, thank you, and talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You're listening to Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures with Kristin and Polly, only on LA Talk Radio.